All right, here we are, a new week, week 7 of GPP Master, Elite and Value. So let's talk briefly about week 6. It sucked. Let's just call it a chase. We had a great quarterback couple calls with Kirk Cousins at 31 points and Deshaun Watson solidly at 24. But Fournette was good. We had him, and even though he was going to be chalky, but Gurley and Hunt and kind of the big backs, Freeman did not perform. We did hit the Deshaun Watson, Will Fuller, and the Kirk Cousins, Chris Thompson tandems or stacks were pretty good. But after a incredible week 4, a very good week 5, and a great week 2, highlighted by members winning 25K, 50K tournaments in week 4 with the Carson Wentz play. Week 6 is one we're going to move on from, and it happens. We all got to understand that, for everybody, even for experts. It's hard to win a GPP, but sticking back to our motto, we say it every week: only got to win one time. Win $1 million, 100K, 150K, and it pays for a lot plus the whole season. So on the week 7, money to be made this week. This is a good week. We're only going to focus on the Millionaire Maker, but remember, each week we move along, the better statistics we have to work with. So this is a Millionaire Maker focus week 7. Going on the quarterbacks. This is an important quarterback week. As you know, I tend to play a lot of quarterbacks, sometimes over 10 a week in some weighted format. You may have last week Cousins in 4, Watson in 3, and a bunch of guys in one lineup. This is more like a 6 to 8, 6 to 9 quarterback week, and a little bit top heavy. This is tough. You got Brady and Ryan playing on Thursday night, so they're not in the Sunday night, so you're not in this thing. You have Smith and Carr tonight. You have Watson on a bye. So this is a week we're going to hone in on all the quarterbacks, but specifically a few. So Marcus Mariota is my number 1 pick. This is Carson Wentz to me, just slightly downgraded from that week 4, where I came on here and said, you have to play Carson Wentz, and he went off and won people a lot of money on our site. I don't think Mariota is as good, and I think we have a very serious and real injury risk, right? Because he's out there playing with a hamstring. He's not as mobile as usual. If he does try to run once, this could be one of those scenarios where you suddenly see on the news or on the red zone, or get an alert from us that he's out of the game in the first quarter, questionable return. So keep that in mind. But at $6,900 and a total for Tennessee expected of a 27th against a 32nd of 32 pass defenses with the Browns, a team that's actually really good, top 3 against the run, I see this being potentially a 4 or 5 touchdown game for Mariota. If he stays healthy and finishes the game, again, that's a risk that we want to diversify from, but I actually love him this week. Use him, and we'll get to stacks later. Secondly is Dak Prescott. He's $7,300, so more money, but not much more. Look, here's the deal with Dak. His total is just there, 26.3 expected for the week. Top 3 total on the board for the Cowboys. San Francisco's pass defense is bottom 6, 26. And Dak, these are Dak's numbers on the season so far. 30.7 points, 23.6, 22, 17, 17. So he is the most consistent daily fantasy quarterback through weeks 1 through 6, or with a bye week 1 through 5 on the season. Drew Brees is the most expensive quarterback at 7,600 in what would have been a shootout if Aaron Rodgers were playing, but I think this will be now a little bit more of a ball control game than it would have been. Just buyer beware on this one. Brees is terrible, as we know, on the road. The road splits are not great, and I'm going to use him, but I'm only going to use him like once, maybe twice. But we'll have him just in case he goes off on the road, which he rarely does, but he could. Now we're looking at the 4th quarterback on that list that is on the heavier weighted side is Russell Wilson against the Giants at 6,400. Giants' pass defense isn't very good. Wilson's, again, almost been like Dak, just one level below in the model of consistency. His price is pretty good at 6,400. I think he is a solid play against the Giants again this week on the road, especially because I think they're going to pass the ball. Filling in, I'm going to have Tyrod Taylor in a lineup or 2. Tampa Bay's pass defense is atrocious and have been lit up by everybody. The game's in Buffalo. The defense is good. Look, the problem there is he has no one to throw to. And they're talking about Matthews coming back this week, but Clay is out. There's just not a lot of weapons. But even with that said, I think Tyler you got to have exposure to him this week. And we'll come back to that in a little bit. Cam Newton, $7,000. Don't love this game and this matchup, especially with Kelvin Benjamin very iffy and Olsen out. But McCaffrey has been sneaky. McCaffrey would right now be the 9th ranked wide receiver in a traditional fantasy scoring format. 9th ranked as a wide receiver. He has targeted more than almost everybody in the NFL the last 4 weeks except for DeAndre Hopkins. So I like that play, and I think Cam has now run for a touchdown 3 straight weeks. So you have that thread as well. So again, I'm not going to go heavy there. One lineup stacked with McCaffrey, which we'll come back to. Big Ben, everyone's down on Big Ben. Cincinnati's pass defense has been awesome. But this game's in Pittsburgh. Martavius Bryant's story is playing out. Antonio has still been Antonio. Le'Veon is starting to become Le'Veon and emerge. So I will have at least one lineup, probably 2 with Big Ben this weekend. And look, one of these weeks he'll go off with the best weapons in fantasy football in Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. I will have one lineup with Josh McCown. I know it hurts, but at $5,200 against the Miami's terrible defense, I'll throw one out there, and that will be a stack with Safarian Jenkins, maybe a stack with Curse, but we'll see on that one. And I think that was it for quarterbacks this week. Let's move on to running backs. This is a running back week, so we're going to spend more time on running backs than wide receivers. I love running backs this week. Running backs are going to win you a GPP. So number one, $8,600, Leonard Fournette. He's going to be the chalk. We had him last week and said he was going to be the chalk, but played him anyway, and that was the right thing to do. The only thing I would say here is I think Indy's going to be better in this game than people think. I think that Fournette is a major injury risk in this game. He could play not at all, or he could play a quarter. So I'm going to be very light, if not fade him completely. Probably fade him this week. I will say this. If for some reason he is out, I love Chris Ivory in at least 1 or 2 lineups at $4,800 in this game. So if Fournette is out, I would play the cheaper version of Ivory. Otherwise, I'm going to pass on Fournette this week, as hard as that is to do. Jay Ajayi, good matchup, starting to come on. He's one of the few guys who gets the rock almost every play or every series, in on every snap. He's a bellwether back. The Jets are 25th against the run. The only thing I don't love about Ajayi is he doesn't catch the ball very much. So in a DraftKings where you're getting a point per reception, he doesn't bring you much there. So some exposure to him. Adrian Peterson, obviously we all know what happened there last week. I had none of him. Didn't see it coming. Didn't believe in it. The Rams are terrible against the run. And I think you're going to have to, similar to Ajayi, he doesn't catch a lot of balls anymore, but I think you kind of have to have him in some lineups, at least have some shares of him right now until he proves you otherwise, because he looked really good last week. And they will give him the ball this week. Carson Palmer's passes were cut down almost 50% last week. Okay, C.J. Anderson. Love this play. He had a crappy week last week against the Giants. The entire team shit the bed. Simeon's banged up. Emmanuel Sanders is out. Demaryius Thomas is questionable. Their offense is a mess. Simeon's going to play. Thomas will probably play. But this is a case where they're going to lean on C.J. Anderson against a pretty crappy 28th ranked Chargers run defense. And this could just be one of those games where C.J. puts in 2 or 3 touchdowns, 130 yards. Going back to the well on him. Love him this week. And interestingly, I think there's room to separately give a lineup or 2 to Devin Booker. Devin Booker's only $3,500 on DraftKings. He caught 6 passes last week. And in a game where Sanders is out and Thomas is extremely limited injury-wise and an injury risk, they may have to have Booker in there in certain sets. And he may catch 6 passes or 7 passes, 8 passes, and a touchdown. So, again, not a huge play. Very low-cost flyer, but I'm a C.J. Anderson guy. Saints, Kamara. Last week, Mark Ingram was a play that we did not have and you had to have to win a GPP. Looked great. Everyone's going to go to him. $5,600. Green Bay's terrible against the running back catching the ball out of the backfield. And I just think Kamara still had double digits last week. People are going to forget about him this week, and that's the way I'm going to go this week. Carlos Hyde, Dallas, absolutely dead last, 32nd against the run, $5,900. My worry about that game is it turns into a shootout, but with the rookie quarterback, you're going to see a lot of Carlos Hyde, like Carlos Hyde. Shady McCoy is going to probably be chalk.
I am going to stack him with Tyrod Taylor, hoping he catches a couple touchdowns. He has 0 touchdowns on the year. He's goose egg, so I'm sure he gets one this week, maybe 2. $7,400 in that matchup. I do like Shady, but I kind of like him more in a stack because I think he will be chalky as a running back. Let's talk real briefly about the big 4 running backs. Zeke, Gurley, and Le'Veon Bell. I think, look, Zeke is playing now with the suspension. San Francisco is terrible against the run. You always kind of got to think about Zeke, but $9,000 is pricey there, considering all the circumstances. I do think Gurley bounces back this week. Could have a huge GPP winning week, so I'll have 1 or 2 lineups with him. Same with Le'Veon, $9,100 though. So again, Big Ben, Le'Veon stack kind of thing. And then Jordan Howard, that's not a good matchup. Carolina's run defense is really good with Luke Kuechly. So if Kuechly is not going to play in this game, keep an eye on that. Jordan Howard, I don't know. No one pays attention to him. The team sucks, but they're looking a little better with the new quarterback. And Jordan Howard's just a stud. He's just a stud. He can win you a tournament. So I'm not going to ignore him. That's a lot of running backs. Let's just talk about running back stacks, which is, to me, a focus this week. Tyrod and Shady, Breeze and Kamara, Cam and McCaffrey. Those 3 I'm certainly stacking, probably Ben and Le'Veon. 4 stacks with a running back receiver, because that will be a unique differential.